Hello everyone, I'm Jessica Lewis, and I'm here today to present a plan to evaluate the Provider Data Management Onboarding Program at Molina Healthcare. The PDM department plays an important role within Molina Healthcare. Its primary purpose is maintaining accurate healthcare provider information across multiple systems so that providers can be credentialed correctly, claims can process accurately, and members have access to reliable provider information. Because provider data supports many areas of the organization, the accuracy of that data directly affects operational efficiency and the experience of both providers and members. To prepare employees for these responsibilities, all new hires must complete the PDM onboarding program, which is designed to help employees develop the knowledge, skills, and professional workplace behaviors needed to succeed. Like most onboarding programs, this one represents a significant investment of time and organizational resources. Every new employee spends several weeks completing training before contributing independently to the department's workload. And there's an entire training team dedicated to prioritizing this program above all other training needs for the department. Because of that investment, it's important to understand whether the program is achieving the outcomes it was designed to accomplish. As Molina Healthcare continues to evolve, so do the jobs their employees perform. Over the past decade, Molina has experienced significant organizational growth. And to sustain this growth, the organization has implemented automation, system integrations, and ongoing process improvements. These changes have transformed the way PDM employees perform their work. Now, the onboarding program has been updated over time to reflect many of these changes, but it's never been systematically evaluated from beginning to end, leaving two very important questions left unanswered. How well are those changes working? And how can the program be improved? Conducting this evaluation would provide leadership with objective evidence about the extent to which the program prepares new employees for their roles. Leadership would be able to use that evidence to make informed decisions about improving the curriculum, strengthening performance support, and ensuring the program meets the changing needs of both employees and the organization. That way, new employees will take less time to acclimate and be more likely to hit the ground running once onboarding is complete. The best approach to evaluate this program is to follow the CIPP evaluation model because it evaluates an entire program rather than just focusing on the final outcomes. And it's wrapped up in a nice little acronym, CIPP. C is for context evaluation, which would help determine whether the knowledge, skills, and workplace behaviors being taught still align with current job responsibilities and leadership expectations. The I is for input evaluation, which would determine whether employees are being given the tools they need to succeed. The first P is for process evaluation, which would examine whether the onboarding program is being delivered as intended and whether employees are actively engaging with the learning experience. And finally, product evaluation, which will determine whether employees leave onboarding prepared to perform their jobs independently while meeting the department's quality and productivity expectations. Together, these four components will provide leadership with a complete picture of the program, from whether it addresses current organizational needs to whether it ultimately produces the desired results. Rather than simply identifying whether the program is effective, the evaluation would also identify where improvements should be made and why those improvements are needed. How long is this all going to take? I estimate it'll take about 5 months, broken up into 4 phases. The first phase would focus on planning. The second one would focus on data collection. The third one would focus on analyzing the findings. And finally, the evaluation would conclude with a report summarizing the findings, conclusions, and evidence-based recommendations for leadership. How would we know whether the onboarding program is actually successful? To answer that question, measurements will be taken at 2 different points. The first would be during onboarding. This would tell us whether employees are actually progressing through the training itself by looking at things like assessment scores, participation, engagement, attendance, and completion of learning activities to determine whether employees are developing the knowledge and skills the program is designed to teach. The second would be after onboarding. This is where it will be determined whether employees are actually applying what they learned once they begin performing their jobs. Measures such as manager perceptions of employee readiness, time to independent performance, quality audit scores, productivity metrics, and error or rework rates will help determine whether the onboarding program is translating into successful job performance. Looking at both stages is important because it provides a more complete picture of the program's effectiveness. If employees are successful during training but struggle once they're on the job, that points to a very different issue than if they're struggling throughout the entire onboarding process. Understanding where those gaps occur helps leadership determine where improvements will have the greatest impact. To get these measurements, evidence will be collected from multiple sources. Some of that evidence would come from organizational records, including training records, quality audit scores, productivity reports, and performance data. Those records would provide objective evidence of how employees perform during and after onboarding. Other evidence will be collected directly from the people involved in the program. Surveys and interviews with new employees would provide insight into their onboarding experience, while managers would offer valuable perspectives on employee readiness and performance once training is complete. And finally, the onboarding curriculum, training materials, and supporting documentation will be reviewed to determine whether the content remains aligned with current job responsibilities and organizational expectations. Bringing these different sources of evidence together would provide leadership with a complete and reliable picture of how the onboarding program is really performing. Rather than relying on a single measure of success, leadership would be able to see whether the different sources of evidence tell the same story. Do employees feel prepared? Do managers agree? And do quality and productivity data support those perceptions? Evaluation isn't about proving whether a program is good or bad. It's about giving leadership the information they need to make better decisions. Conducting this evaluation would create value for both the organization and its employees. For leadership, it would provide that holistic view of how the onboarding program is performing, objective data to support decision making, and evidence-based recommendations for strengthening the program over time. For employees, it would help ensure the onboarding remains aligned with the knowledge and skills they need to perform their jobs successfully. As the program continues to improve, new employees will be better prepared and transition to independent performance more quickly. These are valuable benefits because the success of the onboarding program isn't only measured by how much training is delivered, it's measured by how well employees are prepared to succeed. And when employees succeed, the organization succeeds. My hope is that this evaluation will provide the evidence needed to ensure the onboarding program is accomplishing exactly that.